They let me babysit during their vacation. When they returned, my daughter-in-law checked her closet and accused me of prying. She had no idea I left behind something inside one of her designer shoes that made her run outside screaming. I'm 64, retired now, after working as a public school teacher in California for more than 3 decades. My life hasn't been easy, but I've always handled things with grace. I raised 3 boys mostly on my own after their father left when the youngest, Alex, was only 7. I didn't complain. I worked. I made sure they had food, shoes, and structure. I went without, so they could have what they needed. All I've ever really wanted was to be part of my sons' lives. Not to control them. Not to hover. Just to be included. 2 of my boys moved to other states after college. They're decent men, both married to women who treat me with kindness and respect. We FaceTime, exchange birthday gifts, that sort of thing. It's not perfect, but I feel wanted when I'm around them. Alex is different. He was my quietest son growing up. Sensitive. Thoughtful. He'd help me bring in groceries without being asked. He was the one who used to draw me pictures when I came home exhausted from work. When he got accepted into UCSD, I cried for 2 hours straight, not because I was sad but because I was proud. Then he met Brittany. The first time I met her, she barely looked at me. It was some rooftop bar in downtown San Diego. Loud, trendy, and overpriced. I wore my nicest blouse and flats. She wore a silk dress and Gucci sunglasses on her head like a crown. Her handshake was limp, and when I told her it was lovely to meet her, she just gave a tight smile and asked Alex if they were still meeting their friends for drinks after. I told myself not to judge. First impressions don't always reflect a person's heart. But that pattern never changed. Every time I visited, I felt like I was being tolerated, not welcomed. It wasn't outright cruelty. That would have been easier to name. It was more like a steady stream of tiny cuts. She'd rearranged the dishes after I loaded the dishwasher. She once corrected my pronunciation of quinoa in front of everyone at brunch. Another time, she laughed when I brought homemade muffins and said, "Oh, how cute you baked." Not "thank you." Not "these look great." Just "how cute." When they bought their new home in a gated neighborhood outside San Diego, I brought a housewarming gift, a potted orchid in a ceramic planter I thought matched their decor. She glanced at it and said, "Oh, I'm terrible with plants," then set it behind a chair, out of sight. I stopped trying after that. I stayed polite. I stayed quiet. Then Emily was born last year. Their first baby. My first grandchild. I cried the day she was born. Alex sent me one blurry photo and said, "We're just keeping things quiet right now. Brittany needs space." I didn't see Emily in person until she was 3 months old, and even then, I felt like a stranger in my own family. But I held her. I sang to her. I kissed the top of her little head and made a silent promise to love her no matter what. Fast forward to this spring. Alex called and asked if I could come stay with Emily for 5 days while they took a trip to Hawaii. Their nanny had a family emergency, and they didn't want to cancel. I said yes without hesitation. I rented a car, packed a bag full of books and soft toys from when my boys were young, and even made banana bread the night before I left. I wanted to show them I could be trusted. I wanted Brittany to see that I was capable, not just some relic from the past who didn't know how to use a bottle warmer. When I arrived, Brittany didn't even come out to greet me. She was upstairs, packing. Alex let me in and handed me a 5-page printed document labeled Emily's Daily Routine. I smiled and said I'd follow it. He thanked me. She came down 5 minutes before they left, barely looked at me, and walked me through the pantry as if I didn't know how to find crackers. Before leaving, she turned to me and said, "Please don't go through our bedroom. Everything for the baby is already downstairs." I nodded. I understood exactly what she meant. And for the most part, I didn't. I kept to myself. I stayed downstairs with Emily. I cooked, cleaned, folded laundry, and sang lullabies every night while rocking her in my arms. But on the last full day, I walked into their bedroom. Not to snoop. I wasn't curious about their finances or secrets. I just wanted to feel something. To remind myself that I was part of this family, even if she didn't see me that way. That's when I saw the shoes. Rows of designer heels lined up like trophies in a glass-fronted closet. Red soles. Gold buckles. Shoes that cost more than I made in a week at my last job. I just stood there for a minute feeling small, out of place, and angry. That's when the idea came to me. I didn't take anything. I didn't damage anything. I just wrote a note on a piece of paper I found in the kitchen drawer. 6 words. You hide who you really are. I folded it in half and slipped it deep inside the toe of one of her Christian Louboutin stilettos. Not the ones on the top shelf. The ones she wore more often, the ones with a little scuff on the heel. Then I closed the closet door and walked out like nothing happened. When they got back the next day, Brittany gave me a thin smile, thanked me for holding it down, and said she hoped everything went okay. I packed my things slowly, said goodbye to Emily, kissed her little forehead one last time. It was maybe an hour later, just as I was pulling out of the driveway, when my phone buzzed. It was Alex. Did you go through Brittany's closet? He asked. His voice was tense. I said, I put away some of the baby's folded laundry. The hamper was in there. He didn't reply right away. Then just said, okay. She's a little upset. I'll call you later. That was 3 weeks ago. He hasn't called. I know Brittany found the note. I know it rattled her. She probably turned the house upside down wondering what else I saw, what else I knew. But what she doesn't know is that I didn't leave the note for her out of spite. I left it because she needed to feel something. A mirror held up for just 1 second. That was only the start. It started quiet, like most things do in this family. No yelling, no confrontation. Just distance. Alex didn't call. I waited a few days, then sent a text asking how Emily was doing. No answer. I left it alone after that. I wasn't going to chase after my own son like I'd done too many times before. 2 weeks later, I got a card in the mail. A thank you card from Brittany. It was printed, not handwritten. One of those pre-made ones from a fancy stationery store. The kind with a floral border and gold script. All it said was, thank you for taking care of Emily. We appreciate your time and help. No signature. No photo. Not even Emily's name written out. Just cold paper. I tore it in half and threw it in the trash. Then things got worse. My middle son, Jordan, called me a week after that. He said Alex had mentioned something weird going on. That Brittany felt like I'd been snooping in their home. That they were uncomfortable with how I handled things. I asked him if Alex said that directly. He said no, it came from Brittany. But Alex didn't correct her. Jordan tried to be gentle about it, but I could hear it in his voice. He was testing me, seeing if I'd own up to something I wasn't even sorry for. I told him I'd done nothing wrong. I took care of Emily. I followed the schedule. I even left the place cleaner than I found it. He hesitated before saying, maybe next time, just be more careful. Next time? There won't be a next time. I didn't say that out loud, but I knew it in my gut. Then last week, I logged into Facebook, something I only do now, and then to see pictures of my grandkids. Brittany had posted a long status about boundaries and respect and how some people confuse access with entitlement. She didn't name me. She didn't have to. The comments were full of supportive replies from her friends. You're doing the right thing, Britt. Family is hard, especially when they don't respect you. Good for you for standing up for your space. And then I saw a comment from her mother. Some people never learn when they've overstayed their welcome. That one stung. I hadn't said a word to Brittany's mother since the baby shower, where she spent most of the day bragging about her Pilates schedule and correcting how I pronounced charcuterie. But now it was out in the open, I was being pushed out. Carefully. Quietly. Socially. Like a bad smell they were trying to air out without opening a window. Alex still hadn't called. The final blow came just 2 nights ago. I got an invite to Emily's first birthday party. A digital one, sent by email. A mass message. No phone call. No handwritten card. No personal touch. It said, join us for a backyard celebration for Emily. Casual snacks and cake. Please RSVP by July 5th. I looked at the list of invitees. There were over 40 names. Neighbors, coworkers, college friends. And at the very bottom, in smaller print, gifts are not necessary but appreciated. No political discussion or family drama, please. That last part felt like it was written just for me. I sat there at my kitchen table, holding my mug of tea, staring at that screen. The invitation was clear. You're invited, but you're not wanted. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about a note in a shoe. This was about control, about pushing me out while smiling to my face, about rewriting the story so that I became the villain in a family I built from scratch. But they underestimated one thing. I may be old, I may be quiet, but I'm not weak. They wanted to accuse me of snooping? Fine. Let's see how they feel when I start actually looking into the things they've tried to hide. Because Brittany isn't as perfect as she pretends to be. And I know how to dig. This time it won't be a note. I didn't respond to the birthday party invite. I didn't RSVP, didn't click anything. I just watched the days go by, knowing my silence would say more than any message ever could. But while they were planning cupcakes and lawn chairs, I started digging. I remembered something from months back. A conversation I wasn't supposed to overhear. It was Thanksgiving. Alex and Brittany had come up for dinner that year, a rare visit. We were cleaning up the dishes, and Brittany stepped into the hallway to take a call. She thought she was alone, but I was still in the next room, drying silverware. She was whispering, angry. No, I told you we can't just move that money without getting hit on taxes.
I don't care what my dad said.
It's in Alex's name, and if my name's not on the account, it's fraud. I heard every word. At the time, I chalked it up to some finance talk I didn't understand. Her family's always been heavy into money talk, trusts, tax shelters, real estate holdings. I didn't ask questions.
But now?
I started wondering. So I called an old friend.
Denise.
She used to be an accountant before retiring. We met when our boys played Little League together. I told her I needed advice. I explained the situation without naming names. She gave me a list of things to look for, signs of manipulation in family money, irregular transfers, quiet moves of inheritance, joint accounts used without permission. That's when I remembered Alex had access to a small inheritance from my father. I'd put it in a joint trust when Alex turned 30, nothing huge, maybe $40,000. The idea was for him to use it to buy a house or invest in something meaningful. He never said anything about it again. Now, I started wondering if Brittany knew about it too, or if she'd already touched it. I logged into the trust's portal. I still had access as the co-trustee, and what I saw made my stomach drop. The account was nearly empty. $2,100 left. The withdrawals started about 8 months ago, one after another. $7,000 here, $5,500 there, labeled as home improvements and emergency costs. The money was funneled out over time, always just under the reporting limit. And every withdrawal had Alex's signature on it. I stared at the screen for hours. He didn't tell me. Not once. He hadn't even mentioned the trust since I gave him access. I called the bank, asked if a secondary account holder could make withdrawals. The rep said yes if they had power of attorney or if they'd been added as an authorized agent. Brittany's name was on the list. Not as a co-trustee, as a financial consultant. Someone had logged in from a San Diego IP address and made authorization changes through the online portal. I printed every page and filed it in a folder marked private. Then I made another copy and locked it in my fireproof box. I didn't confront them.
Not yet.
Instead, I started watching more closely. Brittany had always been showy, but lately her posts were more frequent, more desperate. Her Instagram was filled with filtered smiles and wellness collabs. One post caught my eye. A photo of a new handbag, tagged with a brand I recognized from a gift catalog. The bag cost over $3,000. Paid for with what, exactly? The cracks were showing. A week before Emily's party, Alex finally called me. His voice was stiff, rehearsed. Hey, just checking to see if you got the invite.
I saw it, I said.
I haven't decided yet. Long pause. We'd like you to be there. For Emily. Not for us. Not for me. For Emily. That told me everything. I told him I'd think about it. I hung up and opened my file folder again. This wasn't just emotional betrayal anymore. This was financial manipulation.
Exploitation.
Lies told through smiles. They accused me of crossing boundaries. But Brittany crossed lines that could land someone in court. And I was done staying quiet. I'd already slipped a note in her shoe. That was just a message. What comes next will be evidence. I didn't go to Emily's birthday party. Instead, I mailed a card, just one. Inside was a $50 check and a photo of Alex at age 3, asleep on my chest, taken after his father walked out. I didn't include a note. Let them read into that however they want. While they were smiling in their backyard, drinking white wine with neighbors and posing for Instagram, I was sitting in a lawyer's office in Temecula. A woman named Janice, late 50s, sharp-eyed, polite but no nonsense. I handed her the folder. I explained everything. How the trust was built from my father's estate, how it was intended for Alex, how Brittany was added quietly, how the money was siphoned away. She listened. She took notes. Then she asked the one question I was waiting for. Do you want to pursue this legally? I thought about it.
Hard. I didn't want to destroy Alex.
I wanted him to see it, to feel what I felt. The slow realization that someone you love can lie to your face for years and pretend it's normal. Yes, I said. But I don't want to take him down. I want him to understand what she's done. We filed a formal inquiry with the bank, citing unauthorized use of the trust. The paper trail was solid. Logins from Brittany's devices, transfers just under flagging amounts, itemized expenses that didn't match the trust's stated purpose. The bank froze the remaining funds. Then I made a second move. I sent an anonymous packet to Brittany's new business partner. She just announced she was launching a boutique wellness brand with another influencer mom, a woman who posted daily about financial transparency and empowerment. The packet included screenshots of Brittany's posts with price tags written beside them, statements showing the withdrawals from the trust, and a brief summary of the legal dispute, worded as a concerned third party, warning about patterns. I didn't sign it. I didn't have to. The fallout came quick. A week later, Brittany's Instagram went dark. Her partner deleted every photo they had together. Then came a vague story post. Sometimes you think you know someone. Business announcement coming soon. I waited. And then finally Alex called. His voice cracked. I didn't know, Mom. I swear to God, I didn't know she was taking that money. He told me she'd handled most of the financial stuff while he focused on work and the baby. That she convinced him it was fine because it was family money and that I wouldn't care. He sounded broken. Not angry. Not defensive. Just tired. I thought you hated her, he said. But I didn't know half of what she was doing. I didn't rub it in. I didn't gloat. I just told him the truth. I never hated her. I hated how small she made me feel. And I hated watching you let her. We didn't speak for a few days after that. Then, slowly, he started reaching out again. Short texts. A photo of Emily coloring. A voicemail on Mother's Day. No mention of Brittany. Then, one day, I got a text from him. We're separating. Not because of what you did. Because I finally saw it. It wasn't revenge that made me feel better. It was the silence ending. Weeks passed. I heard from mutual friends that Brittany had moved in with her parents temporarily. Her brand never launched. I don't know what happened to the money she spent, but she never responded to the inquiry from the bank, and since her name wasn't legally entitled to the trust, they closed her access and flagged her. I didn't press charges. I could have. But I wanted something deeper. I wanted her image, her little kingdom of curated perfection, to crack from the inside. She made me feel invisible. She smiled through her control.
Now?
She doesn't smile much anymore. Alex and I aren't perfect. We still have distance to close. But we talk now. He sends videos of Emily. He asks for advice. He's seeing a counselor. And sometimes when I'm alone, I think about that shoe. That tiny space where I left 6 words that haunted her. You hide who you really are. It wasn't just a message to her. It was a promise.